Welcome to Deep Thought, the world of the future. You know what? And I kind of was about to get into this in my previous podcast, but the world of the future is going to be about organized subcultures. And we're actually in there now. Now, to be clear, this ain't something Rom just thought up and say, hey, this is how it's going to be. Many people who study this on a higher level, who look at trends and everything, saw this. In fact, there was a CIA report back in 2005, I think it was. And I ain't see the whole thing. I saw bits and pieces of it, or basically a good synopsis of it, I think. And it was saying by 2015, it'll be not so much about nation states, but about organized groups, organized subcultures, right? And I added the organized groups, tribes, and economists have saw that, and a bunch of people have seen that, because in the world we live in today, it's more about, with the communications and everything, people is not as much about the borders. Yeah, they still there. The nation states are still there for now. But you have people going across borders, like even sometimes you even have to ignore the political thing. I mean, you have some stuff going back and forth between, the United States and China. Yet somebody like Walmart, McDonald's, UPS, they got business in China. And, you have plenty of places Chinese got business over here. And this already happened. It's already happened with politics, with corporations and everything. It's interesting because you have groups across the world who are trying to really bring in, really they xenophobic or, ethnophobic or whatever the term is. They want the ethno state and, they want those people out of the state. But those are just one of many groups. Reality is the borders are going to disappear. And I know some people, they don't want to hear that, but we have to be real. Anytime someone like me, from the safety of my own home, wearing some pajama bottoms, can do a coaching session with someone in Europe or Africa, it just lets you know things are getting smaller. The borders are becoming more and more irrelevant. But one of the things with that, though, you're going to get organized groups, because now people might not so much as organize like just with the people in their area or create a community. You can actually, through the internet, which is getting better, through video conferencing, virtual conferencing, and all of that stuff, you can create communities across the world. Or sometimes you got some groups, and this is something that's been happening. You get diasporas of like Indians, you get diasporas, Nigerians, Chinese, especially the overseas Chinese, where they going all over the world creating businesses, creating cultures, creating communities, And it doesn't have to be like a racial thing or even a nation state thing. You can get a bunch of people, fandom. You can get comic book fans across the world. They can create something based off of like a rare comic or something, or some type of movement or some type of music or something like that, or just an idea. You could have hypothetically, I'll take one of my favorite ideas, and I even did a video on it. The idea of eugenics and stuff. I know it got a bad word, because of the early 20th century happenings, like with Margaret Sanger and, the Nazis. But you can get some people say, hey, we want to be like Khan Singh from Star Trek. And you can actually get a movement of such folks across the world. You actually have some movements like that, though. You have some movements. I've seen them. I haven't looked for them recently. And it actually gets into some deeper stuff. It really gets into some deeper stuff. Um, nah, I'm gonna save that one. That's one of those things. It gets deep. Yeah, I was gonna hit y'all with something on the next podcast though, but understand it's the world of the group now. You know, everybody still, yeah, you have the governments there and everything, but an organized group, they can do business. Like if you gain a group, say you get a group of say 1,000 people, right? They can actually create their own thing, own way of living, as long as it doesn't interfere with the laws of whatever nation state that they happen to be in. And think about it, that's deep when you think about it. You can create your own sovereignty. Like a lot of religious groups already do that. And in fact, in this country, the best way to actually create sovereignty, your own sovereignty, is through religious stuff. A lot of times, freedom, they don't mess with freedom of religion here. You know, if you look like the you look at a group like the Amish or something, or the Mennonites, they basically have their own way of living, their own way of doing stuff, yet they still here. And a lot of people, you know, that is a form of sovereignty. You got groups. Sometimes they get disparagingly called cults or something, but they create their own. They create their own thing. Is there corruption in some? Oh well, yeah. From my perspective, yeah. But remember, I did a video on, you know, good and evil being a relative thing. From my perspective, you know, from my perspective, yeah, someone, but from their perspective, hey, boom. But that's the way to start looking. Like, find, you know, that's the beauty of it. I mean, yeah, you have your blood family, but you can also have your spiritual family, the people who feel the same way you do. And like I say, it can be off anything. And, you know, it's interesting. One of the things that started getting me thinking about subcultures, groups like that, was when I worked at a place. I'll say this in government. It's one of the few times I can talk about what I've done. I worked with the disability rights section of the Department of Justice in the Civil Rights Division. And when I was there, I found out a lot about what's called deaf culture, the deaf community. Many people who are deaf don't see it as a handicap. They just see it as another way of being. You know, and they feel they consider themselves a culture. They have a language, American Sign Language, which I actually learned a lot of back then because I knew some fine like deaf women, so I was like, oh, Rom got to communicate with them. But it's interesting. I had rudimentary knowledge of sign language back when I was working there because, well, fine women I was motivated to learn. But also learning nuances of that culture and everything. But I just thought that was like interesting because I know there's also an autism community. You know, they don't see what they have as being bad. They just see it as a different way of processing information. But they have a chance they can organize around the world. And, you know, stuff like that. I mean, a good like groups that have really organized, I'd say the gay community. You know, regardless of what someone thinks of them. You know, I'm like, wow. You know, businesses, all of that. You know, it could be on any interest. You know, it could be a group. You know what? It could be a group of people who say, we want to organize a community off of studying rocks. There probably is something. I guarantee there's something. Somebody come in the comments, say, hey, is this community? Give me the links and everything. And that's cool. That's cool. I think that's going to be the future. And you know what the beauty of all these communities is? People can be free. Because, you know, as soon as 50 years ago, you were stuck. You know, people were stuck. They were stuck being, you know, wherever they were stuck. If you didn't match the mainstream, that was it. But now people have freedom to be free, you know? And I'm going to tell you what, that's a very important thing. People want to be free to be themselves, whatever they are. Whatever they are. And I think that's why I like studying subcultures and stuff, because it gives people freedom. It gives people a safe space to be where they are. And what's going to happen in the future, they're going to become more organized. You know, you start buying real estate, you can go across stuff. depending on where you at, you can organize you can organize a network and start affecting politics. And and as the world gets smaller, and it will, yeah, you got some stuff in nation states, you're gonna have that. But maybe I say maybe 200-300 years from now, it'll probably be one big old place. I know the anti-New World Order people are against that, but part of their thing is they want to maintain an ethnic pride. That's all that is. And but yeah, it's going to be a great, because the ultimate place is ultimate community is one in which you can be free to be who you are, to be yourself. Now, if you, because even now, like, there's so many that come to mind, like the polyamory community. That's getting bigger, but that's who people. That's who they are. The tantra communities is it's a good thing. It's a great thing. That's the world of the future. So anyway, that's it. Just think on this as always. Peace and blessings.